on.
Richard, you're on.
YouTube guys.
They're on. They're on. You're good, Jim. Jim, the YouTube's on. You can go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the second training session for the Greater St. Louis Association of Umpires. My name is Jim Fetch. I'm the president of the association, if you don't know that already. I want to talk about this coming Sunday. A week from today is Election Day. It's usually the site or the day of our all-day meeting, which will be virtual. You will be getting a message sometime this week about how you're all going to vote. I got to mute my phone, I'm sorry. But you're going to, those who are attending tonight, they're privy to this information before everybody else. You will be getting a notification on how to vote for this coming Sunday's election. The board is going to discuss tomorrow night on how we're going to have a meeting for that Sunday, which I hopefully everybody here tonight will be a part of. And if you know people that aren't here tonight watching, please express to them to please tune in Sunday. Again, this is the only thing I want to say is that we have our election this Sunday, and you will be getting a notification through email. Check your email, please, on how to do that. Also, while you're checking your emails, please accept or decline your games before they roll off. A lot of people are not doing that. I get those notifications from people that when it goes by accept date passes by, there are numerous people that are not looking at their emails. Bill is doing an outstanding job along with Tom about getting schedules out early. Most of these games that are rolling off have to do with almost the end of the season games. Bill and Tom are that far ahead, but we have turnbacks. We're going to have rain. There's going to be plenty more games to be assigned once the season gets going. And isn't that a nice phrase? Once the season gets rolling. So Sam Page has relaxed some of the things going on in the county. That's a good thing. Let's just keep positive thoughts about a baseball season for high schools. And if you got any questions, you can chat on the line. I'll answer them after the, if they're directed to me, I will answer them after this training session is over. Again, thanks for everybody showing up tonight. Have a good training session.
Brett, you're on. Brett, you're on. Brett, can you hear me? Brett, you're on.
Looks like he's trying to talk.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
There you are.
All right, there we go. Thanks again, everybody, for taking time again this evening to hop on our training call here. This week, we're going to kind of discuss some just the basics a little bit, and then also get into, our two-man mechanics that we follow throughout the course of the season. It's important that we know what our home plate umpires' responsibilities are, along with our field umpires' responsibilities as well. While you should almost have a mentality where you want to make sure everything's covered. You're going to miss stuff in the two-man mechanic system for sure. Just because there's only two sets of eyes and there's two bodies. So the more that you can be prepared for it, the more that you know what's going on with the mechanics and where you should be or shouldn't be, it puts us in a lot better position as opposed to not knowing anything at all. So let me see if I can get my, let's see here. Okay, can you guys see the screen?
No,
Yeah, you're up.
Is there a screen showing right now or no?
Yes,
You're
I
good,
can
Brett.
see it.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, so right now, what we're looking at right here is just a field diagram. Don't even go by right now what's kind of going on with the different arrows. Let's just talk starting positions with nobody on base. We've got our plate umpire. Obviously, he's behind the catcher. Once we get into where U1 should be, with nobody on base, U1 needs to be about 5 to 10 feet, behind the first baseman. You need to be moving with that first baseman. A good rule of thumb is you should be able to see the top of his shoelaces. If you can see the top of his shoelaces, you're in a very good position to see that low line drive. If your first baseman starts to walk up, you need to walk with him. You need to almost act like you're attached by a string to where you're walking with him. If he goes back, you need to take some steps back as well. In this certain situation right here, we got nobody on base. The situation is a fly ball to the outfield. We have to understand that any ball that goes out to the right field spot or down the foul line, it is going to be the responsibility for the first base umpire to go out on that baseball. The responsibility of the plate umpire at that time is to cover the base runner touching the base at first base, and you're basically going to be cutting into the middle of the infield, watching the touch at first base, and then carrying him into second. If he goes all the way to third, the plate umpire is still going to be responsible for him going all the way to third base. That situation where an umpire goes out, we should try to verbalize that. That's something that we should definitely be pre-gaming with our partner. If you go out, it's a simple pointing the finger up in the air. Hey, I'm going out. When you go out on the ball, you want to make sure that you get set before the ball gets to the landing area. So you want to have somewhat of a guesstimate of where you think that ball is going to go, but you want to make sure your feet are set in that position. Gonzo, you got anything to add to that?
that's perfect.
Okay. So our next situation is when we have runners on base. If we got a runner at first base, okay, you're going to be over in what they call the B slot, which is going to be on the first base side of the pitcher's mound. A good rule of thumb, when you're in that B slot, you're kind of what they call the working area as well. In that B slot, you want to take the point of the plate, have it go straight between your legs to basically the outline of that mound. That's going to be kind of your starting area of where you're going to be. On this page here, you're going to see the outfield coverages on fly balls. So you're going to hear a lot of people talk about either they'll call it the V or they'll call it the U. Basically anything that is going to be within the U coverage. So if you've got between your second baseman, shortstop, going out to the gaps, or actually going to your left fielder and right fielder, that's going to be in that U coverage or V coverage. All fly balls in that area, that's going to be the responsibility of the field umpire. Any ball that takes the right fielder or the left fielder towards the foul line, that will be the responsibility of your plate umpire. A rule of thumb on fly balls, the plate umpire, you need to get out from the point of the plate. You need to get up. You need to get set. You're going to have to move your legs, move your bodies to get in a position to get out there. Because you got to remember, you're in a two-man system. While you're not going to be all the way in the outfield and you're not going to have near the distance that the field umpire does, that doesn't mean that you don't sit directly behind home plate. You got to get up and you got to move. All fly balls, we should be communicating to our partners. We talk about communication all the time. There's 3 teams on that field. There's nothing in the rule book that says you cannot communicate verbally with your partner. Use your voices, use your eye contact. If that ball's hitting the V and I'm the field umpire, I'm literally going to look at my plate guy and say, I got the ball. and then I've got the ball. He knows that I've got the ball. His responsibility is going to be watching the base touches. Gonzo, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, you, as a plate man, you either got the ball or you got a runner. You're constantly doing something. Just because you work in the plate doesn't mean you're not going to work hard. You either got the ball or you got a runner. If your partner's got the ball, you have the runner. If he says he's going out, you got to cover the runner. If you tell him, I got the ball, then he's got the responsibility of taking the runner. So communication, communication, communication.
Yeah, and the one thing you'll notice when you guys start verbalizing, it gives you that confidence to know that, hey, this is my responsibility. My partner's got everything else covered for me. That will help you get a good gauge on either a line drive or a diving play that you know that, hey, that responsibility is mine. So we should be communicating that pre-pitch with our partner, and then a verbalization every time a ball's hit to the outfield or a fly ball situation of who's got the ball. Tom, Richie, Muggsy, you guys got anything to add?
Not at this time.
Okay, so then we're going to move in with, if you got runners on first and second, or second and third, or runner at third, or bases loaded. In those situations, you're going to be in what they call the C slot. Everybody should be familiar with the C slot. That's going to be on the third base side, and you're basically going to split that distance, pointing the plate, line going between your legs, right at the edge of the pitcher's mound. Same thing, you're going to have the same outfield coverages. The field umpire, right, responsibility for the V or the U. The plate umpires got the right fielder and left fielder going towards the line, towards the foul lines. So that's going to be your situations with, runners first and second, runners second and third, bases loaded, or runner at third. Those are situations. If for some reason you're working with somebody that's maybe not familiar with two-man mechanics, or they haven't worked many games, or they're brand new to it, if you're the plate umpire, obviously you want to discuss those things before the game. But if you know when you get in the game situation and your partner's out of position, step out and point them to get to the right direction or to the right position. There's no harm in doing that. Get in the right position before the play even starts. You'll save yourself a lot of headache there. Okay, and then we've got, we'll take a situation here where we've got runners first and second. Okay, if we've got runners first and second and we've got nobody out or one out, we've got a situation for an infield fly. Okay, infield fly, we should be touching the bill of our hat pre-pitch, letting our partner know that, hey, we've got an infield fly situation. In this situation in the diagram, we've got a fly ball to center field, and we've got runners first and second. So what's going to happen here, or you can have double tag on the runner up at first and second base. This is the situation where the plate umpire is going to move up to third base, okay, because the responsibility for the catch in that B or U is the responsibility of the field umpire. So he's going to have the catch, okay? You should try to line yourself up to see the tag at second base, okay? The plate umpire, you're going to have to do a couple things. You're going to be moving up towards third base, but you should also be trying to peek in as well and see a tag at first base. Okay, now this is kind of one of those faulty deals of the two-man system. There's a lot of movement going on with two runners on, a fly ball to the outfield. Okay, so we're going to have to kind of have our head on a swivel, make sure that we can see both tags at first base and second base. And then once a play develops at third base, that responsibility is going to be for the plate umpire to cover that play at third base. The field umpire, he will be taking the tag at first base and taking that runner into second base. If for some reason there's a throw that goes into third base and it's wild or an overthrow, it's going to be the responsibility of the plate umpire to get his butt in gear and get back to the plate for possible play at the plate. Okay, so don't get your feet stuck in cement thinking that you're just going to be hanging out third base. You've got to work up the line. If there's an overthrow, you've got to get your feet moving and get back to the plate, because there's probably going to be a potential for a play at the plate in that situation.
Also looking for the ball going out of bounds, out of play, because you're also responsible for that.
Correct. Yeah. Plate umpire is going to be responsible for for the ball going out of bounds or out of play. Muggsy, Tom, Richie, you guys got anything on that?
Just in the middle there, you got to keep your ball to the chest of the ball right there in the middle. As Brett was talking about, putting your head on a swivel, but you don't want a situation where they're throwing behind you. You got to keep your chest to the ball, okay, at all times in this, because especially if you get into your better games, if they've got multiple cutoffs. So when you get into that, you want to be able to. You're not going to be able to get over to these bases. You're going to stay right there in that working area. So keep your chest to the ball. And like Gonzo said, the chances for overthrows in your out of bounds area, come into play on these situations. So.
Yep.
Two men covering 4 bases. You can't be everywhere, but you sure in the heck can get your eyes on it.
Right. And what's the good adage? I mean, you got to think angle over distance, right? So if you know that you're not a good runner, you got to know that these kids, they're going to run like jackrabbits. They're fast. If you know that you don't run very well, there's still no excuse that you can't get a good angle. Even if that requires you to take 2 or 3 steps, you should still be able to get a good angle pretty much in any situation, the 2-man mechanics, if you can't get right on top of the play or if you can't cover the full distance. So always think angle over distance. Okay, and then our last little situation that we got here, it's going to be runners first and second again. And we've got the fly ball down the right field line, and there's going to be a catch. Okay, so you've got the situation where the ball's going down the right field line. Okay, so that responsibility for that ball is going to fall on the plate umpire, because that's to the right fielder or towards the line. So the responsibility of the base umpire, okay, he's got to make sure that he's seeing touches and he's got tags. Okay, so he needs to make sure that he can line up the tag at second base, and you probably wouldn't hurt to see if you can try to catch in the guy at first base. Since that ball's hit to right field, that's going to be a situation where the umpire is going to take kind of 2 responsibilities, but your overall main responsibility is seeing fair or foul, and then it's going to be catch or no catch. Okay, so that ball where we got runners first and second, fly ball down the right field line for a catch. He's going to come up throwing to third. Okay, that's going to be the situation where now the field umpire, he's going to take the throw to third base, since the responsibility of the plate umpire is taking the batted ball towards the right field line in that situation.
He's got fair and foul and out of bounds.
Yep.
It's real easy for that ball to bounce over a fence through a dead ball territory, because a lot of high schools don't have their fields enclosed.
Right, and that's something you want to make sure that you cover in ground rules. Where is dead ball territory or out of bounds territory? Because like Gunza did bring up, if you play a game over, let's say like Blanchette, I mean, it's a free for all, so you've got to get clear within your pregame meeting with the head coach of where's out of bounds and so forth. So. Okay, so what I had right there, those were just some brief scenarios. Gonzo, is there any other particular scenarios that you want to cover, or situations guys would want to know about?
Yeah, single runner, he hits a double. The plate man should be coming out from the plate, coming up first, making sure the guy tags first, and the base umpire is going to come in, make a pivot, and follow the runner in the second, or stop and have to come back to first. Same way with the triple. Communication. I got the ball. Very, very, very important. I can't stress that enough. Brett, and when we work together, you can always hear me yell. Just don't stand there and be a spectator. That's the number one thing the rookie umpires like to do, is they watch stuff and they go, oh, I should have been at third.
One thing that I like to do, especially when I'm in the middle, is as soon as that ball's hit, I start heading towards that pitcher's mound. Just kind of gives me a broader perspective of my coverage area. And remember, before that ball's even pitched, to always think one step ahead. Okay, I have runners at first and second. If I have a fly ball to the outfield, my next possible play is going to be at second or first. Plate umpire is going to have third. Just always remember what your next possible play is, and then you should be surprised.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. I mean, you want to the less surprises you can have on that field, the better your job becomes and the easier it becomes. So make sure that pre-pitch you're thinking if a ball's hit in this situation, you should be thinking every time there's a new situation, you need to be going in your head. Ball hit in this situation, I'm going here. If it's hit down the line, it's going to be my plate guy if I'm in the field. What my coverages are going to be, in the V. So those are all situations that the better you can do is think ahead. Then it becomes a natural instinct of where you're going as opposed to balls hit and it's, oh crap, what am I supposed to be doing? So don't think that, a lot of people say baseball can be kind of a boring game until kind of stuff starts hitting the fan and then a ball's hit to the gap or there's a play down the line and we forget what we're doing. So I like to think ahead of as well. I'll think it through. I try to think of every possible scenario that would happen in any situation. When we get into, runners on base, I'm thinking if a ball's hit towards the line, my plate guy's going to take it. If a ball's going to be a line drive, whose call is going to be the line drive call? So think ahead so you can eliminate, by all means, double calls or possibly no one making a call. So
One more thing here. Base umpires, look at your plate umpire. He's going to give you signals, or you give him a signal to wake him up. So you guys got to make eye contact. I'm out there giving my infield fly situation, and the guy at the plate standing there not paying any attention, or the base umpire standing out there talking to the shortstop. Communicate, man. Make sure you get your eyes on it. Don't stare down the pitcher when he doesn't have the ball. He can't do nothing. So look at your partner.
There's a comment in the chat about open fields being well marked, and I really wish that were the case, but you're going to be dealing with a lot of imaginary lines. So it's just going to be your best judgment. Put yourself in a position to get the best view you can. And if they want to argue it, say, hey, you know what? It needs to be marked and it's not.
A lot of that should be covered in your ground rules.
Got me some look. I ain't got no horns today. Rock. This damn man, this looking nice, man.
Can you guys make sure you're muted? There we go.
Also, keep the coaches in the dugout, because the assistant coaches are not supposed to be out.
Well, yeah, and that brings up a good point. You're going to get the coaches that think that, hey, I can sit on my bucket outside the dugout. They can't do that. No coaches can be outside the dugout. No players can be outside the dugout.
And that's something I bring up in ground rules too, because
right.
It's a safety issue. And they say, well, nobody else does it. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but today I'm going to look out for your safety and put you behind that fence.
Yeah, if you bring it up in ground rules, it's already the issue's already taken care of. Everybody already knows the message. Like, hey, nobody outside the dugouts. It becomes an issue when it's the second inning, and then you're like, oh, you need to be in the dugout, but he's been hanging out there for 2 innings. So take care of that stuff, like Tom said, before the game even gets started. Gonzo, what else you got?
Oh, let's go over some dimensioning of the field. Does anybody know what the size of the batter's box is for baseball?
Well, they can't really answer. They're all muted. So,
well, Tom,
somebody brings it up in the chat, possibly here.
4x6.
4x6. There it goes.
4x6. What's the distance between home plate and the batter's box?
6
That's
inches.
6 inches. Exactly. When you say 4x6, where does the 2 foot start from going forward? at the split place, it breaks the intersection. You should have 2 feet forward and 2 feet back. 6 inches off the plate, 2 feet wide. First base, the lines should be marked all the way up to first base, if not to the outfield. 3 foot running lane, it's called 3 foot for a reason. If it looks not right, talk about it at your pregame. Make sure everybody understands what you're going to call. Does anybody can tell me the distance from home plate to second base? Barry, you got it?
27 feet.
Huh?
127 feet.
Close.
3 and 3/8, right? 3 and
Yep.
3/8. So, and many of fields are marked wrong. That intersection is to the back edge of the bag, not the center of the bag. But you don't do anything about that unless somebody wants to bring it up and says the field's not marked right. Distance from home plate to the pitcher's mound. 60 feet, 6 inches, correct?
Correct.
How high is a pitcher's mound from the top of home plate? How high should a mound be?
10 inches.
10 inches. Not Bob Gibson style, right, Barry? So those, something that came up to me. If you're doing a district game and the press area cannot be on the field of play, must be out of bounds, out of play. They used to have it on the field, but they don't no more. And a lot of times they like to sneak in the dugout and sneak out. So be really careful about that. All right, Brett, you got in?
I believe that's for all games.
Yes.
All games, there cannot be any press out there on the field.
Yes.
Yep. So Gonzo, what do you do if a coach comes up and says, "Hey, that batter's box is not measured correctly"? What do you do?
Okay, first of all, I'll take a look at it. And I got to find out what is not correct. The length, the distance, what is he asking? You can take a bat usually and from that tangent point and go forward and backwards and get some idea. A bat 36 inches, and judge it by that. That's what I do. I don't have no tape measure.
So if one of the coaches just starts kicking the batter's box saying this isn't right, how do you handle that?
Tell them, first of all, you tell them to stop, get them to stop as soon as you can. And then you take the butt of the bat and make your own batter's box. You mark it off, mark it out. Now you can get rid of them or you can restrict them if he's being an ass about it. If he slides into home plate, just we had a coach do that once.
St. Mary's.
Yeah, St. Mary's, and he's an all-star, by the way. So it's not the first time he's got in trouble, but things like that happen. If he slides in and takes out the batter's box and you need a batter's box, draw it. And it's going to be the same for both teams. Is that what you're looking for, Tommy?
Sounds good to me. Some of these schools, they don't have grounds crews. So, obviously, you do the best you can with what you have. And sometimes that means getting the bat and drawing it yourself, like Gonzo said.
Especially if the coach is telling you he's out of the batter's box. Draw one.
Yeah, you'll get that a lot of coaches saying, "No, he's stepping out of the box. He's stepping out of the box." So, Muggsy, you got anything to add or anything you'd like to cover this evening?
No, not right now.
One more thing. Any part of the foot being on the batter's box line, he is considered to be in the batter's box. And and his foot has to be clearly out of the batter's box or touching home plate.
Go ahead, Gene.
Yep. What do you got, Gene?
Some of our fields we have are at city parks, and some of them may not be properly marked. So we have to take that in consideration.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And know too that you guys have jurisdiction before that game starts. If that field is not proper, I had a situation in a district softball game a few years ago where they had the pitcher's rubber on the mound, and it wasn't correct, and we didn't start the game. They also didn't have the safety base or the orange base over at first base. So those are little things as you're walking up, from the parking lot or locker room or where the situation is. When you're walking to the field, those are little things that you can pick up real quick of, all right, does everything look dimensional or whatever? If you got questions, ask the head coach before that game gets started.
That's all I have. Brett, you got anything? Tommy?
Again, like I was saying earlier, I think you really need to start thinking ahead. What's my next move? That way you're not surprised. Go over signals in your pregame with your partner. Make sure you contact your partner before the game. We've talked about this a little bit, but share where you're going to park, who's going to do what, and what kind of car you drive. All that kind of information. Make sure you're contacting your schools the day of the game, even if it's been great weather and you show up and you haven't contacted the school, and there's no game. Bill has a hard time getting the schools to pay for stuff like that. So they say, well, they didn't call and check. So make sure you're doing that. At this point, really, you should have the rule book every day, reading a little bit of something. That's what I'm doing that right now. And, if you got something in there you don't quite understand, call a veteran, call a friend, text, email, whatever works best for you. So things like that keep thinking about the game. Looks like we got a few things in the chat. Check the foul lines, make sure they are straight and correct. Yeah, make sure there's, you got some foul lines that are going to be a little wobbly. So, do the best you can with that. And it's easier for the coaches to see a foot outside the batter's box line. Well, it's obviously a coach or players or fans, even, they can watch whatever they want to watch. We have to watch the pitch, and then, that's a secondary thing. So even though they may think they have a better view of it, we may see it once it's all done as, hey, there was a little bit of part of foot of that on the line. That's not a call that I'm going to make unless I am 100% certain that entire foot was outside of that box.
That is true.
And then any word in-person training to go over mechanics on the field, especially for newer umpires for the start of the season. That's tricky. The board, I believe, is going to address this tomorrow night at our meeting. We may be able to do something possibly with social distancing and masking, if we can get a field or an indoor facility possibly. But the problem with all that is if we have, 30, 40 guys show up and ready to go and wanting to learn, and if someone, has asymptomatic with COVID, and then you got to quarantine 30, 40 guys before the season really gets close to starting, and you could have a big part of your staff out. So we're still kicking that around, I know, on the board of directors, and Jim may want to touch base on that at some point here, but there's really no good answer for that at this point in time. And that's really all I have for the moment.
Get in the rule.
Brett?
Yes, sir.
Hey, we got an advertisement here. Somebody asked about Umpire. I don't have that deal. But we do have, we're going to try to support one of our local guys here. What's his name?
Brian.
Brian Harris.
There you go. Brian Harris, 5% off, online only. Okay. So GSL 21 is the code. GSL 21.
And just to chime in on that, guys, if you're a NASO member, you get 10% off at Umpire on any purchase.
There you go. So anyway, he just threw that out today. He's gonna send out an announcement. So he's got a storefront in O'Fallon supposedly. So, but whatever you guys need. So
Brian's a great guy. He used to be my football referee. Great guy. He'll take good care of you.
Looks like we had another thing here on the chat where member asking about basically coming to observe a game. That's another tricky one right now. Brett and I were at Maryville this weekend, and they were only allowing for parents of players to watch the game. Everyone else was being turned away. So, you know, I don't know how many of you guys got some college baseball on your cable, which really, you know, that's kind of mostly 3 and 4 man stuff. But, you know, if you look up MIAA website or the GLVC website, you'll see some 3 man, you'll see some 2 man, you'll see a lot of us local guys. You know, you can watch working plate mechanics and see where everybody's going and say, oh, that looks different. I don't know how or why they did that. Then, you know, shoot an email, text, phone call. Hey, why did this happen this way? And, you know, hopefully with some of these training sessions here soon, we'll also be starting to show some plays that some of us guys were involved in. And, you know, how would you handle that differently or what was handled and go from there. That website, there's a couple different ones. GLVC Sports Network has their own website, and the MIAA has their own as well. You can just put those conferences in Google, and most of the games on those weekends are streamed online. And then I know there's some stuff on SEC Network on cable. Again, that's like 3 and 4 man stuff, but you know, you can watch the plate guys, see what they do, things of that nature.
YouTube high school baseball of old games from last year and stuff. You can years past, you can watch state championship games. There's all kinds of games out there. I was watching today was illegal slides in the second base. Yes, they were pros, but they were still illegal, and you can watch a lot of that stuff.
Hey, there's NCAA women's softball too that's on. There's a lot of good plays that happen really quickly on those too. So we usually have double TVs going here, but they get some situations that happen there too that you can learn from. So,
yep, they had a couple of nice catches today. I got to watch some of that. More training is going to be covered at the all day or next Sunday, basically meeting. Because it's going to be a little bit longer time. Tommy, we got any more questions there?
Looks like Brett dropped in the links to the GLVC and the MIAA. Tim is asking about JUCO schedule, see where guys are working JUCO stuff. I would say just shoot myself or Bill an email saying, hey, I got nothing going on whatever date. And I can let you know, well, hey, there's a game at St. Charles Community College. You can go check that out. Just let me know when you're available to go watch something. And I think some of the restrictions at the junior colleges are going to be a little bit less, but you may actually want to call the athletic office first and find out, hey, I was going to come out and watch the baseball game today. Are you allowing spectators? Just to be sure, because like I said, Maryville was not allowing any extras in today. We went over the 2-man mechanic stuff earlier, and you know, if anyone has any questions about any of that, please feel free to ask. If you're not comfortable asking in this format, just call, text, or send an email for that. And then, as Gonzo said, next week will be the longer, more in-depth meeting. What you got there, Gonzo?
It's a high school baseball guide. I got it from Referee Magazine, all about the DH. Okay, the publications are out there. The National Federation flyer is an excellent thing to get into. They talk about all kinds of stuff, and there's a little quiz on the back of them and stuff like that. So a lot of this stuff is really, really good. So, we'll cover a lot of it next week. We're going to cover the DH next week. These little flyers got the plays that we were talking about. When you're at home and you're a new umpire, I used to take my salt pepper shakers and make the pepper the runner and the salt where the bases were, and put the umpires out there and make plays up. And so that way I know where I'm going, what I'm doing. We don't all stand out in the middle behind the pitcher, that's we don't do that anymore. But things like that, get yourself into it, get into the rules. They get a rule, put your checker players out there, whatever you want to do, and say, okay, this is the game situation. What do I do? And read what you're supposed to do out of the umpire's manual. Take the umpire's manual and make the plays out of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing here on the chat, the Misha rules meeting is open. You can go in and watch your rules review on that. And then Marcy makes a good point here. Have everyone put their picture on your profile on Arbiter. That's a good one. Should be on Misha as well. I mean, if I don't know the person I'm working with and they see my picture, and I pull up and I get out of the car and they see the big bald head, oh, I think that's my partner. So everybody, if you can, get your picture on Arbiter. Make yourself more recognizable.
Get your gear out. Get it checked out. Make sure your pants fit.
Yep. We talked about that last week. Yep.
Well, just reiterate it because we got other people that haven't been there. But, this week, me and Richie, Saturday, me and Richie are down at Merrimack. We got a doubleheader down there, 2 sevens. So be down there. If anybody wants to come on out and watch, you can probably park on the street and watch that game. But at least you'd be.
One thing you guys can do too. I mean, if you didn't umpire at all this summer, or you're a new umpire, and you catch either a spring training game on TV or maybe it's a college game, I could speak for myself. I'm not gonna lie. Before the start of the season, I'll put my hat on with my mask, and I practice taking my mask off. The one thing you can really get from watching, and you got to realize that, if you're watching an SEC game or an MLB training game, yeah, these guys are going to have a little bit different mechanics, but watch the home plate guy. Watch the home plate, how he goes about his business, how the plate umpire, he's got that rhythm. He's got that fluidity where, he's smooth with his strike call, his timing. That's one thing everybody can work on. I'm still working on.
You can also in that situation sit there with your indicator and learn how to use your indicator in your left hand without even looking at it. Because I see a lot of guys sometimes will click their indicator, look at it, have it up here. Well, keep it down at your side, click it, remember where the spots are, and then you can do that from memory.
Don't overlook those little things, guys. Like Tom mentioned, how many times have guys been looking at their indicator, next thing you know, the ball's on the ground over by the fence of a dugout, and you're like, what just happened? So get used to knowing how many clicks your indicator. Is it a 3-click or is it a 4-click? Just watch how these plate umpires kind of go about their business. You'll see them talking a little bit to the catchers or whatnot, or maybe even the batters, but just how they're calling their strikes, what their timing is like. I know a lot of guys are wanting some in-person training, and we'll see what we can do about it. But Tom brings up a good point with all the COVID restrictions. But there's no better thing than to watch a game on TV and work on your timing there. I mean, you can literally watch pitches go in and make a strike call. I'm walking around my house calling obstruction and interference left and right on the little baby and my wife all the time. So, I mean, it's what you do, right? So
Yep.
practice your strike calls. If you haven't called a strike in 3 or 4 months, when you're in your vehicle, practice your strike call. Those are all things, little things that help get you ready for the season. I know we talked about the rule book. If you're not in the rule book yet, you're already behind. We should be in the rule book daily, and there's going to be stuff that comes up in your first game that you're going to be like, can they do that or can they not? And that's just the nature of what we do, right? It's you have that kind of long delay of having that off-season period. You try to prepare, but you're still going to get. I mean, Tom mentioned him and I worked together this weekend for 4 games. We got in that rule book about 4 or 5 times after each game, just little different things that came up. We had a situation where the guy's hand got stepped on. We're like, how long is that clock? Is it 10 minutes or is it 15 minutes for an injury with blood? And, it's little things that you got to know. So don't overlook the rule book. The rule book's your friend. The other thing, too, is get in the umpire's manual. They give you the umpire's manual with the rule book. They give it to you for a reason, not to collect dust. When you start opening up your rule book, those pages should be pretty well worn. So if you're unsure of where to be in certain situations, get in your umpire's manual. I think Darcel's going to be sending out a sheet here later on this week that's got a link to the NFHS website. If you guys have not been to the NFHS website, and this one's, I think, called NFHS Train or something, I believe. But you're able to see all these videos of rules mechanics. It's free of charge. All you got to do is set up a username and a password, and you can access these videos. Use that link that Darcel's going to be sending out this week and start viewing those videos daily. Each of them are only about 4 or 5 minutes long, but it's going to tell you where you need to be as the plate umpire, where you need to be as a field umpire. So use those resources. Use your manual. Use your rule book. Those are 3 resources right there that we should be using daily and weekly. So when we do get to the season, it's not like, well, I never heard about this. It should be more of, did I apply that rule correctly or did I misapply it? Not, oh, I've never heard of that. So we can't ever stress enough. Get in that rule book, and even when the season gets underway, stay in that rule book. If you got questions that come up along the way, by all means, feel free to shoot me a phone call. I know Tom's available, Gonzo's available. Mm-hmm. So, shoot us a phone call, shoot us an email with situations that come up. We're more than happy to help you guys along the way.
Write them down if you don't remember. After the game, write it down. Put what happened in the game so that way you can recall them in your memory.
Another good resource is our state rules interpreter, Mr. Brian Brasher. He's there to answer questions. That's his job. If you can't get a hold of somebody in our association, you can always call Brian Brasher. He's listed on Arbiter. He's also listed on the Missouri State website. Strike 3 Ducks at, I forget where it's at, but Strike 3 Ducks. Brian Brasher.
MSN.
Yeah,
MSN,
there you go.
yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
Again, me and my son Richard are going to be over at Merrimack Junior College Saturday at 12 noon. 2 7-inning doubleheader games. Where are you going to be at?
Saturday, I'm at SAU Edwardsville, and then Sunday, I believe I'm at Jeffco.
And I had a couple members call me about observing a game, and I've talked to Tom about that, and it's true what he said about Lindenwood is, or Maryville, I think he said, was only parents were able to come, but at Maryville, there's a big hill that you could probably gather.
That's where, no, there were people standing out there checking the list. And if you were not on the list, they were asking you to leave the premises.
Okay. I was going to talk to the coach over at Lindenwood. I know as of right now, they're not letting people sit in the bleachers, but I don't know. I was going to talk to Bill and Tom about this, that maybe we could gather out by the locker room, possibly just a few people, not everybody, It's going to be who's going to sign up and come first, but you got St. Charles Community College, Jeffco down south. There's plenty of opportunity to go out and watch guys work and ask questions.
We had a question in the chat box. Any idea what time we're going to start the meeting on Sunday? Generally, what we would do is open the doors at 9, I believe, start at 10. But the board has a meeting tomorrow night, and all that will be decided and sent out via email shortly on that.
Yes, and I want to comment about that. It's true what Tom said. Usually our all-day meeting, the gala banquet, is like doors open at 9 and 10. We start, like Tom said, but we're also having a training session Sunday evening, just like tonight, and we might combine that with our all-day meeting for rules training, obviously, election results. We're going to let you know about that. We'll let you know through emails, through Arbiter. Check your emails.
Well, Brian, that's all I got to say. Anybody else got anything? Brett, Tommy?
I got a few things. We've had a lot of the games roll off, which was kind of talked about earlier. If you take a game and you need off of it, we understand. Sometimes you have to work late, birthdays, weddings. If you need off of a game, it's not a big deal. One of my biggest pet peeves is the declines. If you decline a game because it's your wedding anniversary, well, that wedding anniversary, in my opinion, is usually that same date every year. So, go in and block it off before the season starts.
You got to remember it.
Yep, you got to remember it. So, nobody likes it when you're at work and someone makes your job harder. No one likes that. Well, I'm no different. Bill's no different. So if you guys help us out, keep your availability up to date. And then, if I go in and I need to fill a game and you're not available, then that's what it is. But if I see you're available and I send it to you and you say, oh, well, that's my wedding anniversary, I can't work. Well, that gets frustrating after a while. So keep your blocks up to date. Something comes up, give us as much notice as you can, but sometimes short notice happens. We understand that. Just try to keep in consideration that this is our job. Most of you guys have regular everyday jobs that you go to, and let's try to make it easier for everyone. So that's all I have.
Gene, you got something?
He's muted.
Oh.
Gene, you're muted.
You have some questions on the message board.
Okay, what are they?
One of them was about taking account for voting. If they've got a game on Sunday, when they're going to be able to vote.
Oh, I believe, Jim, are you still unmuted on that? I think they're going to send that out either Thursday or Friday, and then you must have it in by Sunday, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that as a board to get all on board with that. But that is the preliminary plan. We're going to have a wide window to be able to vote. And we've already test run the election amongst our board. You're going to only be able to vote once. So we're going to give you the opportunity on a wide window. Exactly how wide, we still have to determine that. But yes, you're going to get an email to all active members are going to be able to vote.
Any more questions? Anybody else?
We'll check the chat box here real quick. That looks like that's it.
All right. Well, I would like to say thank you to everybody for being here and participating. I'd like to say thanks to Darcel, Tom, Brett, Richie, Jim. Thank you all. Thank you all for helping us. Really appreciate it.
All right, everyone enjoy the rest of your
That's
Sunday.
it.
Absolutely.
Good
Next
job,
Sunday.
guys.
Good night.